The internet era has changed not just how people interact with each other, but how nations conduct foreign relations. More and more nations are using tools like messaging apps and social media to represent themselves politically. This approach, called digital diplomacy, is especially important for countries like Taiwan, which faces many limits in conventional diplomacy. Today, in our Sunday Special Report, we see how Taiwan is trying to use the internet to expand its international space.
今天天气超好的，我觉得等一下人潮应该会超级多的。
The hot midday sun is high in the sky as a Guatemalan food truck makes its way to the port city of Kaohsiung in southern Taiwan.
其实大家看到我们的车都很好奇，瓜地马拉。
Everybody is very curious when they see our food truck. They say, Guatemala? What's that? So we explain to them that it's one of Taiwan's diplomatic allies in Central America.
In April 2022, Taiwan's 3 diplomatic allies in Central America, Belize, Guatemala and Honduras, embarked on a 2-month food truck tour with 70 stops around Taiwan. The trucks dished up authentic eats and souvenirs to promote culture, tourism and cuisine to the public.
In Guatemala, if you want to spend some time with your friends, the dish that you usually choose, it's a shuco. It's our version of the hot dog. This is not like the most fancy food, but this is the friendship food for us.
The trucks offered free food and gifts to locals. They also provided an opportunity for the Guatemalan embassy in Taiwan to promote its social media accounts.
那你帮我扫一下 QR code，参加活动。
In the past, embassies looking to promote themselves in their host country had to do so through diplomatic events or traditional media outlets. But in the era of smartphones, this approach is not the only way to conduct PR. Social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram, which users check daily, have become a valuable promotional tool.
Right now, it's a digital world. You know, the relationship right now must include the offline and the online activities, and we are trying to promote both.
Together, Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini!
Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Ukrainian expats held demonstrations at Taipei's Liberty Square to urge the international community to help their country. Before the war, these Ukrainians living in all corners of Taiwan did not know each other. They were brought together through Twitter.
You know, on the first day of the war, I was out there on the corner protesting in front of the Moscow trade office. I took a picture of myself, I put that on Twitter. That first day, a few more people came, and then next day, other people had the same idea too. Other people saw my tweet. Next day, there were 50 people. On Saturday, there were a couple hundred people there and a bunch of media. So that's how it started. That's how I met a lot of the other people who kept coming.
Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association President Guo Jiayou was at the protest conducting interviews. She saw for herself the workings of digital diplomacy and how online connections could turn into action offline.
乌克兰的政府跟乡美，他们其实都很努力的在网络上面不断的去跟。
The government, Ukraine, and internet users have been making a great effort online. They're constantly reaching out to people outside Ukraine and explaining what kind of help and support they need. This is a kind of digital diplomacy.
会去找一些台湾的喜欢异国美食的社团，然后把它分享到里面去。
Guo was born in 1991. While working with a non-profit organization in Kosovo, she saw that locals were using the internet to ask airlines to list Kosovo as its own territory. That gave her the idea to found the Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association.
全台湾有60几间的代表处跟。
There are more than 60 representative offices and embassies in Taiwan. We often talk with them about how they can promote their nation's issues to Taiwan's public.
The association helps foreign institutions in Taiwan with their promotional campaigns. It also starts discussions about Taiwan on Twitter. One of its projects is the World Cup Taiwan, a soccer tournament and cultural festival that captured headlines in Latin American countries. In April 2021, the association led a group of diplomats from 20 countries in participating in the Daja Mazu pilgrimage.
During the trip, there were many people greeting them and giving them water, light sticks or towels. It helped them feel closer to the people of Taiwan.
In the past, foreign officers promoted their countries through traditional media and other modes of one-way communication. These days, social media allows them to have a back and forth with the public. However, due to the virtual nature of these interactions, many wonder if they're really having an impact on diplomacy.
日韩、美国等都受邀参加，独缺台湾。
我们正告美方，台独是死路一条，台湾问题纯属中国内政，不容任何外来干涉。
Amid Chinese oppression, Taiwan faces big challenges on the international stage. Taiwan officials say that it's not easy shifting global views on Taiwan purely on the strength of people-to-people exchanges.
在俄乌战争爆发之前，乌克兰的确长期来讲都是。
Before the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, Ukraine had long been more pro-China. So say that the war ends tomorrow. Will Zelensky go and establish official ties with Taiwan? That's not going to happen.
But even if Ukraine doesn't become a formal ally, it can still expand its relations with Taiwan.
我们当然乐于看到说整个台湾社会、台湾人民对乌克兰是。
Of course, I'm happy to see Taiwanese society and Taiwanese individuals lending a helping hand to Ukraine with material donations and so on. I think that over the long run, that will be helpful. Perhaps not toward establishing formal relations, but toward opening a representative office.
有些国家他们会开始讨论说，我们到底要站在中国这边还是台湾这边的时候，其实去影。
Some countries might start discussing whether they'd rather stand with China or with Taiwan. When that discussion starts up, what might influence public opinion is digital diplomacy. That's something we can do online.
Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs does not have a department dedicated to digital diplomacy. In the past, it's launched a number of large-scale online events, but the effects were short-lived.
台湾过去在数位外交上比较多是一个单点式或专案式的东西，比方说。
Taiwan's digital diplomacy is limited to one-off events or specific projects. For example, 2 years ago, we promoted Taiwan's participation in the World Health Assembly. We bought a full-page ad in the New York Times. That was an interesting experiment for us. But usually, when dealing with the high-profile issues, big cases like Taiwan's participation in global bodies, you can see that our social media campaigns are basically the same year after year.
Major political figures around the world use Twitter to weigh in on current affairs, but the social media platform is not commonly used in Taiwan, putting Taiwan at a disadvantage in the world of online diplomacy. Even on Facebook pages managed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, most of the people engaging with the content are people associated with Taiwan and not the global public.
似乎在，比方说这个。 部内粉专的战术或分享上。
For instance, judging from the number of likes and shares among people in the ministry, posts might seem to be very effective. But you have to consider if the audience for MOFA's pages is made up mostly of Taiwanese. If only the domestic audience is seeing the content, aren't we missing the whole point of online diplomacy?
我那天有拍到一个乌克兰女生在致辞的照片，我觉得那一张可以拿出来用。
One local NGO decided to take matters into its own hands.
我们不管参加什么国际场合
Whatever international event we'd like to attend, if it's being held in person, it's very likely that we will be blocked. However, there are no borders between countries on the internet. The internet is very vast, so it's not easy to suppress Taiwan on the web.
In the virtual world, there are no borders, and China has limited access to Twitter, Facebook, and other social media platforms. The association's director says the internet offers a wealth of opportunity for Taiwan to further its diplomatic interests. She says that anyone can help Taiwan's cause as long as they can type.
你看到国外有一些新闻啊，或是有一些贴文，你可以去下面试着留言。
If you read news from abroad or see a post, you can leave a comment. If you aren't too confident using English, it's okay. You can just use Google Translate and paste the translation. You can express your opinion as a Taiwanese. I think that's one way to let Taiwan's voice be heard.
Although it's easy to count the number of likes and shares, it's hard to measure the impact of an online post on the world. But experts say that Taiwan, which is disadvantaged on so many fronts, has no choice but to get creative and to integrate its resources in the public and private sectors. Through the power of digital diplomacy, Taiwan may be able to open new doors to the international community.